Stay tuned with Coach John Brett.
I'm here with the vet, Mr. N. Griffin.
Yes, clean shave and everything, man. Woo.
You are clean shaved.
I am. I had to get rid of it. Like I said, I started my weight loss program. We're in the motor pool.
Yes, we are. We are in a cool place. We can't show it to them, but we've got, what would you call that?
We got a rear axle.
Rear axle.
So the rear axle, it's got the third member in it. These nice disc brakes that Mustang didn't have back in '66 on the rear end. It's got Will Woods on it. And it's all put together, waiting for the car to come back from the paint shop. And I'm going to put it on there. It won't be painted. It'll be primed up. I'm going to put it on there so all the suspension's hanging on right. And send it back to the paint shop. And they're going to look at it and they'll paint it. And then I have a car back.
Yeah, you don't see the car over there, though.
Nope.
But
I had the blue car back for you.
Ooh, can't wait.
Me.
Can't wait to ride in it again.
Yes, it's going to be fun. We're going to go fast.
All right.
So, moving along.
All right.
We're going
This
to
is a good one.
talk top 5 sports movies. 5-0. How did we say 5?
Top 5?
Yeah.
How do we say 5?
Yeah. How did David Chappelle say it?
He said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That's when he was pleading the 5th.
Yes.
That's what most of us need to learn to do, is just never speak.
No, I agree on that.
Even at home sometimes.
Yes.
Plead 5th.
Sometimes it's just best to let the household 6 do her thing. Showing out. So we're going to talk top 5 sports movies. And I got a list of them.
All right, me too. I'm ready.
You ready, Coach? You want me to go first or you go first?
Go ahead.
So I'm going to put 2 on the number 5, and I apologize for that. And I was torn. In the 70s, there was a movie called Brian's Song, which is about Brian Piccolo, who died, and his fellow running back buddy was Gale Sayers.
Right.
It's a phenomenal movie, and that's who I picked. And I shunned Remember the Titans over it.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I love Remember Titans. If it comes on, I'll watch it. I'll say that. Remember Titans comes on, I'm watching it. It's a great show, but Brian's Song is a phenomenal show. It's sad, tearjerker, and it's just a true story. And it's incredible.
It is a good movie. My number 5. I've seen this many times, and I actually show this. You know, a lot of times at school we get days that we're like before holidays or whatever, and I always try to show this every year. And Linda had never seen this until yesterday, and I showed it to her yesterday. Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr., where he is a disabled kid that's in Alabama, and I believe it's Alabama, and either Alabama or South Carolina. But anyway, he's just an older guy that's around the field. The kids kind of make fun of him at first. The coach brings him aboard. He becomes like part of the town and part of it. He's always 11th grader. That's the whole thing about it. He always is going to be an 11th grader. And he becomes a part of the team and a part of the town. And it's based on a true story. And he ended up being a part of the school for about the next 40 years.
Wow.
And he just passed away in 2018 at 72 years old.
72.
But Radio, man, Cuba Gooding Jr., you've got to see the way he plays it. But it's a great movie, great sports movie.
So, Coach, my number 4, I got to break out some Texas heritage here. Friday Night Lights.
Oh, yes.
And I will tell you, Friday Night Lights, if you come from East Texas, any part of Texas, but us coming from East Texas, you can relate to the whole movie. You can relate to the fact that they pull up in the coach's yard and say, "Hey, coach, you going to win state this year?"
Yeah.
Well, we might. Well, you might not be here next year. We know all about those things in East Texas. In our hometown, a coach didn't last for 3 years, and he better not buy a house because he might not be here long enough to live in it too long, and things of that nature. It's very competitive, and then Friday Night Lights is almost a assembly line of producing football players, and that's really what it was. So
sure was, and it does. And also in that movie, Radio, I don't want to digress, but it also at the end of every game, after the game is over on the home games, they all go to the local barbershop and have coffee, and it's some of the townspeople, the booster people, and that's kind of like in when we grew up in Pittsburgh. The coffee shop on Saturday morning after the game, my dad, they're always talking about the games, and it's just that whole feel of the hometown.
Right.
Number 4 for me, Remember the Titans.
Oh.
It's a great story. Not only is it a football story, but it's a good story of how to deal with the race relations of the time, to deal with the way that the love between the two of the players, one ended up getting paralyzed in the movie, and one of the other guys that didn't like each other at first became brothers. And I think that's one of the greatest things about being a part of sports is the camaraderie that you get with guys that you might not spend time with outside of that locker room. But once you get in that locker room, it becomes a family. And it's funny. I was telling my wife the other day, and I've just now thought about this, about some of the things that I wanted at my funeral. And it was like all the people that I was going to put as my pallbearers, it seemed like had to do with something with sports. I was growing up, either did sports with them, or one was one of my players now that I just had. But it's just, you have this feeling, you spend so much time, and it's not a real war, but we feel like we're in a battle together. But anyway, Remember the Titans was that kind of feel.
It's a phenomenal show. So my number 3 is called The Natural, with Robert Redford in it. And it's a baseball show. He had gotten shot earlier in his career, and he got sidelined. And then eventually he wound up becoming, instead of a pitcher, a hitter. And in his older age, and during the gist of the show is a lady he knew when he was younger had a kid, and the kid's his. And he doesn't realize it. And it's a phenomenal show on baseball. Robert Redford.
Okay.
The Natural. And but it's also a phenomenal show on, how things happen in life sometimes. And it's just a great show, and you can't get much better than that. So.
Well, the final 3 to me were hard to put in an order, but they all 3 are my favorite 3 sports movies. Number 3 I'll give, it's going to be Field of Dreams.
Yes.
And I love this movie so much. When I first saw it, the older I got, the more I appreciate it. I remember the times that I was a kid throwing the ball with my dad, and then especially after he passed away. Anytime I see that movie, it's a tearjerker. Just remember the times we were in the backyard on Kesselson, or we threw at the baseball field, and he used to yell out "Rockin' Fire" when I pitched. Just these. That's Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones on that journey, and then you Build It, They Will Come.
Yeah.
It was so hard for me not to be that to be the best movie, sports movie ever, but to me it's in the top 3. I just put it at 3. What a great movie.
So my number 2 is Slapshot, which is a hockey movie.
Yes.
And
you in hockey?
Yes. I'm not a hockey guy, but man, I loved it, man. It was phenomenal. And the Hanson brothers, and they had Paul Newman in it, and it was early on its time, talking about franchise trying to sell out.
Yeah.
And what is the team to do to fight back on that? And it's just a freaking great show. And it's kind of like what I said earlier, like Remember the Titans. If I see it pop up on the TV guide screen, I'm on it. I'm watching it no matter what. So.
Wow. To be honest with you, I've never seen it.
You got to watch
I have to see it now.
It was made like in '78, and it is phenomenal. And the Hanson brothers, kind of funny, they don't put them in. There's 3 of them, and they're bruisers guys, but they put them on the bench the whole time. They finally put them in, and they kick everybody's butt.
I'll tell you right now how bad this sounds, and to let you know, I really have never seen this. When you said the Hanson brothers, I thought that was the little pop group.
No.
Hanson
And
brothers.
what's funny is they all wear glasses like this.
Oh my gosh.
It's hilarious.
All right, number 2. Rudy is number 2. I love showing this to the guys. Even in my 1 year, I showed it to my football guys. We had like a week in between, and we did some, pizza and movie, and we saw Rudy. But the story of never giving up, he just dreams so much about just being a part of Notre Dame football, just doing anything. And I'm telling you what, if you do not get spine-chilling chill bumps when he goes around that end, when they finally put him in there and he sacks that quarterback, there's something wrong with you. You're dead. I mean, that is just all he wanted to do is just be a part of it, and he made it.
So a small guy who overachieved.
Yes.
And if you think about history, our most decorated war veteran in World War II, Audie Murphy.
The street.
Yeah, from Sulphur Springs, Greenville area. Yeah.
And it's funny, when I used to, you didn't know this, I've never told you this, but Audie Murphy's home in Dallas was in Addison. And the office building I had for 7 years in Addison at the corner of Beltway, not Beltline, but Beltway and Midway, his old home turned into a restaurant called Dubby's Restaurant, but it's where he had a home in Addison.
Really?
Beautiful home.
Kind of crazy is my grandmother came to see me in Fort Hood, and I was the first sergeant at the time, and I was showing my unit. And then I said, let me take you to the 3 Corps headquarters. And they have a little bitty wall, just a wall, half a wall of stuff dedicated to Audie Murphy and his all his ribbons.
Wow.
That was more important than anything I ever showed. I can tell you that. That was that right there. So anyway, so my number 1 is, well, before I hit my number 1, let me hit some honorable mentions. Were Bad News Bears, The Longest Yard, the original Longest Yard. Talladega Nights, because I'm a car guy and cars can be sports too. Ford versus Ferrari, Field of Dreams, and 8 Men Out. 8 Men Out kind of complements Field of Dreams because it talks about Shoeless Joe Jackson and the conspiracy with the Black Sox in the World Series. So I really like them. But my number one movie, sports movie of all time, happens to be the only thing that's come out of Philadelphia worth the crap in the last 100 years. But that is Rocky. And
it wasn't the Eagles?
And no, it wasn't the Eagles. That was a fluke. But it was Rocky Balboa. You know, you run to the town, you run up the steps, and the statue's over to the right. Whereas I don't see the Eagle statues out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But just an incredible story. And if you know about the deal with Sylvester Stallone, he was almost written off in Hollywood. He wrote that script.
Exactly.
Played in it the whole 9 yards, and then he became not famous, but became respected after that. Just everything about that story is phenomenal. When Rocky comes on, I'm going to watch it, and him say, "Yo, Adrian!"
Oh, yeah.
9 yards, you know. So I love it.
Well, I have 2 or 3 honorable mentions on third real quick. Coach Carter, I love. Man, that's been a great movie. It's just he's the kind of coach that they need. He actually, remember, they're like 17-0. He says, we're stopping basketball until everybody gets their grades up as a team. So it's one of those things as a coach, sometimes you have to do that. Johnny B. Good. A lot of people don't remember this movie, but I forgot the actor, but it had Robert Downey Jr. and he was the quarterback, and it was kind of like the Jim McMahon of high school at the time. C. Thomas Howell, no, not C. Thomas Howell, the other guy.
I can see his face right now.
But my number one movie of all time, and it has not only to do with the movie, but also my dad and I were so much into sports. Our favorite movie together, sports movie of all time was Hoosiers. And I have such a great memory of that movie because I remember when I was growing up and I was playing basketball, and I loved Indiana basketball. I loved Bobby Knight. I loved the Hoosiers, and my dad would watch Hoosiers games together. And then the movie came out. We saw that together, and the very last night before he passed away, he was in the hospital in Tyler, and I drove down there because I lived in Mount Pleasant at the time to visit him. And I come in, I said, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "Hey, I'm watching our movie." He was watching Hoosiers, and the next morning I got a call from my brother that he was slipping away. But that was our movie, Hoosiers, and I mean, it's just from this small town in Indiana where they actually played. Like we have class, we have A ball and then A and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6A now. They actually had where if you're a small town with 300 people and you made it to the finals, you could play a team that had 5,000 people in high school.
Wow.
And so they actually made it all the way to the state championship and beat the biggest team in Indiana. And they got to play in Indiana University, at Hoosier Dome, at the Hoosier University in Indianapolis. But I love the scene that Gene Hackman's the coach, and they walk in this arena because they play in this little box. Mm-hmm. They walk in the arena, and he makes them give him a measuring tape. And he makes the guy get up on a ladder and put the measuring tape at the goal, bring it over the floor, and he said, "Arthur, how much is that?" And he says, 10 feet. He says, "The same as ours, isn't it?" It's 10 feet. So he's letting them know, don't be intimidated. Yeah. The goal is 10 feet.
Yeah.
But to me, that was the greatest sports movie to me.
Cool. So we want to hear your good movies, your sports movies. What do you like? Do you like any of ours? Or you don't? I don't know. Maybe you didn't like Slapshot. I don't know what your problem is. You did, but anyway.
I got to see this Henson Brothers.
Man, you got to.
Are they playing drums too?
No.
Okay.
No. They what they do. Everybody goes out and drinks when they go there at night after the game. The Hanson Brothers go in, and back then it was made late 70s. Yeah. They raced the little cars on that track. They take the track with them.
Wow.
And everybody think they're nerdy.
Something just popped in my head. You ever see Bagger Vance?
No.
Is that what it was called? I think it was Will Smith playing a golfer.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a pretty good movie too. Yeah. He was a caddy and was a golfer.
There's a lot of good movies out there. I mean, I like The Trouble with the Curve and things like that.
Hey, we also forgot the one. What was it with Major League?
Yeah.
Man, that was a League of Their Own. Yeah. The women movie?
Bull Durham.
Can I say women movie nowadays?
Yeah. I don't know. You got to say
non-male movie?
Their movie.
I
don't know.
Who was you know what it is? Non-gendered binary baseball team that did not have penises.
Yes.
Bam.
And they were
for that one.
Yeah. So, yes, definitely. So, anyway. So, we want to hear your sports movies.
Please.
Yes. Even if it is, I can't even remember what that movie was, the one, Space Jam. Even if it's
Space Jam. Hey, Shaq got a movie too?
He did. Yes. So we want to hear it. Let us know.
Oh, before you do it, Adrian Dantley was in a movie. When we were growing up, he played for the Jazz, and it has something to do with, and he was in this small town. I hate to bring this up, and something to do with playing in a barn. I'll have to look it up now. I have to see this movie again. But Adrian Dantley ended up playing with the Mavericks years later. But when he was a superstar, he was in a movie.
Really?
And I almost said the name of it. Anyway, we could go on there's so many sports movies.
Yeah. Even Bruce Jenner made movies. So
Before he cut it,
before he cut it. Yeah.
that would be a bad day.
So from the coach,
Bad.
stay tuned.